Hello, lovelies. It's Kyle coming at you with another video. Gonna continue the series called Dear Empaths, where I cater these videos to you, empath. So, here's the topic for today. Here's my little love letter to you. Dear empath, when helping others, lead with compassion, not empathy. Once again, when helping others, lead with compassion, not empathy. So, in this day and age, so many people talk about empathy, empathizing, how crucial it is to be empathetic, to develop empathy for others instead of sympathy. And I think this is very true, and I think this is very important for the average person out there, for the average healer, to really understand and develop this muscle called empathy, where we're able to recognize emotions in others, where we're able to recognize feelings, where we're able to really get to that person's level. And if they're not in a good place, you can come down and kind of understand and acknowledge where they're at. A lot of people have to work on this skill. But if you're an empath, if you're a natural empath, if that's your natural disposition, and you find even over time it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, then I don't necessarily think you need to focus on empathy. Especially when there's so many of you out there who find the levels of empathy that you just naturally have to be overwhelming to you. Just going about day-to-day life sometimes can be too much. Sometimes being around people who are feeling a lot, who are very emotional, who carry around and exhibit a lot of heavy, dense emotions and feelings, right? It feels exhausting. It feels overwhelming to be around those types of people. And in some particular instances where you're very, very sensitive, more sensitive than usual, sometimes just going about day-to-day life and trying to function in a healthy way, it can be quite challenging. So, for those of you who are in the helping professions and the healing arts, those of you that are trying to be there for a friend, for a family member, for your fellow human, if you're trying to help, you're trying to be there for somebody, lead with compassion. And although everybody talks about leading and trying to empathize with others you're trying to help and those in need, since you're already gifted at this, since you already have a natural inclination, your balance point is going to have a healthier balance of empathy. And in a lot of cases, to try to tune it down, try to reel it back a little bit. And since you already have this, you already have a tendency, correct me if I'm wrong, to empathize naturally with other people. Why do you need more empathy when you're trying to help others? Especially when we're trying to be there for others, when we're trying to help others, when we're trying to decide what action or inaction, just presence, what state of being, just to be there with somebody, would be most helpful, healing, and best for that person at that particular moment in time. if you empathize too much and you get to their level too much and you experience too much of what they're experiencing, especially if it's very heavy, it's a very emotional state that they're going through. They're very overwhelmed. In a lot of cases, the best action to take and the best state to embody is not the same state that they're in. Now, if you want to deeply empathize with them, that's up to you. And if you want to get down to their level and you really want to be there, that's up to you. But if you're trying to stay clear-headed, you're trying to stay open-hearted with a clear heart, then compassion is what you should be aiming towards and shooting for. Compassion and being compassionate towards others is a lighter state. Especially if that person is going through some really tough, heavy stuff. And embodying the state of compassion will allow you to decipher and to choose what action or state of being is best for that person at that particular moment in time. If this person that you're with loves humor and has told you that they don't want to be bogged down so much by all these emotions and they want to feel lighter, perhaps finding a way to interject some humor or lightheartedness into the situation would help that person the most, and that's what that person wants the most, right? But you can't do that if you are focused on empathizing with them, if you're focused on taking on their emotions, imitating and mirroring their state. It's quite difficult to do. I'm sure it's possible. But focusing on compassion, focusing on a lighter way of being there for the person that you're trying to help will allow you to troubleshoot about which actions are best to take. So that's number one. If you empathize too much, it might not be the most helpful thing to do, especially since you already empathize with people. You can already understand, at least have an idea of where that person's at. You don't need to turn that knob up. In a lot of circumstances, you need to turn it down and turn the compassion up. Another reason is that if you deeply empathizing, if you're trying to take on and mirror that person's emotions and their state, I don't know about you, but for me, and being there for other people, when I enter the same state as them, if they're in a really tough place, if they're really going through it, a lot of the times, it can make the situation worse. A lot of the times, it keeps them entrenched in that state of being, or at least more likely to stay there. And you can still be there for somebody. You can still be present with them. You don't necessarily have to take actions. You don't necessarily have to cheer them up. If they just want you to be around, if they just want to be around you, if they want to be around somebody, chances are they don't want you to be all hunky-dory and happy and everything's great and trying to shoot positivity down their throat. It's like, but also to go to the depths of despair that they are in is also not the best thing. So it's likely somewhere in the middle. It's most likely having this compassionate presence that has already empathized with them, that understands where they're at, but it's a little bit lighter. It's not as heavy, it's not as dense, it's not as bogged down in their emotions and their feelings that they're processing or going through at this moment. So leading with compassion, I would say, if you are naturally empathetic, if you already have this disposition to empathize with people and you don't need to work on it, if anything, you need to learn how to turn it down a little bit and manage it a little bit more, then you need to lead with compassion because it's best for the person you're trying to be there for. Because you will have a better ability to take the right action or the right inaction, just embodying a state of being and presence that is more uplifting and helpful for them. And also, it's more beneficial for you. It's much more beneficial for you. And while there are times where it is best and necessary to deeply empathize with somebody, if you're already an empath, if you already empathize very easily and naturally, you don't need to do this to understand where somebody is at a lot of the times. You should empathize to the necessary amount, the amount necessary in that situation. Because if you empathize too much, right? If you take on these emotions too much, in the state too much, when it's not even necessary to be beneficial for the person you're helping, you just take on this heaviness. You take on those emotions, you take on those feelings, and it's harder and it takes longer to clear those out of your system to get back to a healthier place for yourself and perhaps to help other people if you're in the helping profession, if this is your job, or if you're in a situation where you have to be there for a lot of people. Leading with compassion still allows you to help people, but it protects you in the process. And sometimes you can't, you're probably going to empathize a little too much at times, and that's okay. As long as you know that you don't have to do that, as long as you know that you can work towards another solution, which is leading with compassion. This way you can help more people. This way you can help somebody and return to your life without taking on all these heavy, dense emotions. And this is what's best for you in the long term. To be compassionate. And to turn down the empathy when necessary. Because you're already doing it. And it's wonderful. And I'm so glad people like you exist. You make the world a better place. You really do. But that's really all I got to say. Let me know what you think about this. If you want to comment something, if you want to like the video, if you want to see more of my videos, feel free to subscribe. No pressure. It's entirely up to you. Hope you're having a lovely day wherever you're at in the world. And until next time.